Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another Ladder Legends replay analysis. Today we have Cold Tehran, aka Joeleo, versus MysticMuse, and we are going to be discussing late game scenarios. According to Mr. Joeleo, he has not been in any late game situations like this before. He hasn't felt like such a noob for a long time, and he's barely survived the multi-prong. When they start camping, I feel like there's really nothing I can do to penetrate their position. Didn't know what comp to go for, or even how to use my units. This was a painful one. Okay, so generally speaking, whenever below the master's level, whenever your opponent is multi-pronging, they're also not macroing. So if you can even afford, and what I mean by afford is the fourth resource attention to send out some sort of small counterattack, you'll deal with their multi-prong much better because they do not have the attention to keep up with it. Something to keep in mind. Second, do we get to a proper drone count in time? And what is our unit composition looking like? If it's bio, one of the things you said was maybe I needed lurkers. And generally speaking, yes, lurkers are very good against Terran. Alright, we are making drones. We're doing a good job of not being supply blocked. Getting our creep spread going. Grabbing our third base. Very nice. Do you see the Hellions yet? No, you only... Yeah, you do see a Hellion. So you do know it's cars being made. So you're making a couple extra Zerglings for safety. I like that. Now we're floating a bit of larvae here. We just made some, but generally speaking, whenever you have more than 3 larvae, we need to make sure we're producing out of it. Otherwise, our hatcheries are not naturally producing larvae themselves. So, for example, we waited enough time with that last round of production that your injects finished, and now your hatcheries are once again no longer producing larvae. This is a bare minimum at least 6 units that you've missed out on so far, and that's not including any early game larva float that I may have missed. This is a very common issue that Zergs experience up through Master 1. Spending your larva as fast as it's available is very important. We're also about to hit a 74 supply block here. Queen is in position to deal with the Liberator. Decently well enough, at least. Oh, no. Nice. Good movement. You make sure you can have your queens to deflect this and then have your lings on patrol in the natural. Either way, though, we have not produced something in a very, very long time. At this point, we should have our 4th base down. We should have a macro hatch going. Nice. I like that we're sending the queens back to deal with this. You assume the Hellions are going to be going on the other side, making sure we're injecting. Once again, we have not made anything in like a minute. We've probably missed out on at least 25 potential units, and we're also going to lose drones for it. So, early game, not going too hot for us here. There we go. 18 drones are being made at once, which at least we're finally making something. We're still, once again, supply blocked at 74. This supply block, I want to notate this supply block, because when did it start happening? So the last time we made an Overlord was 4/18, and we don't make another Overlord for... Two minutes and 3 seconds before we produce our next Overlord. So that's just we gotta fix that. That's way too long for being capped at 74. Even though I know you lost some units in the process, we didn't even have the ability to make extra units if we wanted to. Not even mentioning the larva float. So now this guy gets to take his 3rd base for completely free, and does not have to worry about any sort of pressure from you whatsoever because of said supply block. Right, we overmade Overlords here a bit. I would love to... Alright, and we're producing roaches. Now, we're going 50... So we're doing what looks like a 1-1 roach max. We're a little too low on workers, though. What do we mean by that? We mean that, generally speaking, you want to be at least 66 drones. If not a few more. That way we're fully saturated on 3 bases. There we go. We do make a couple extra workers. We are making roaches now. Multi-prong really wasn't that much to deal with. But ideally here, we're already adding in the Hydra Den. You're going for Baneling Nest, so it looks like we're going to be going for Ravager Ling Bane. Okay, we are going for Ravager Ling Bane. Okay. And we're going for 2-2. So now, what we don't really want to fight with 1-1. We want to set up for a 2-2 max out. So another thing as well, remember, as far as opponent psychology goes, the moment your opponent shows you they have an inkling of being aggressive, that's when you know that they're probably going to do it again. So the best thing we could have done here is while we're getting set up on our next set of upgrades, we're going to Hive. We have our army split between 2 locations, our natural and our 4th, and then we have some Zergling spotters to show us if the army fully moves out. That way we can bring our army fully back together and a Ling Run by. Now you have one of those 5 things done here. 2 of those 5 things done here, excuse me. You have one side covered. You have your run by ready. We have no vision aside from our creep in the middle of the map. And we don't know about the other sort of multi-prong. So, we're also floating a ton of cash. Would have loved to see 2 additional macro hatches here. Maybe one is a 6th base and then one in the main base. Or 2 in the main base plus a 6th base. Either way, we just need to be able to spend our money. So while you're dealing with this, we just now produced extra units, all right? But this is going to be causing us to hit like an 11-minute max out, which is usually like latest for Protoss players, right? Zerg, the latest you really want to be maxed out is right around 10 minutes or so. Of course, the way the game goes can change that up, but this guy has already been able to get up to 4 bases, sensor towers, ghosts, and all of the above. And we're limping into the mid game because of how we managed our economy in the mid game we're limping into the late game, excuse me, because of how we managed our economy in the early and the mid game. That 74 supply block is the reason why this game feels so tough for us. Also wouldn't mind seeing some corruptors being made out of this spire to help take out these medevacs. You have 2-2 done, which is nice. Ultra Cavern on the way. Would love to see adrenal glands start here. And then also saturating our gases. We're very undersaturated on gas right now. We only have 4 gases, which means we cannot afford all of the hive tech that we would like here. Just got to get things back on track. Going for a Viper. We're going for more roaches. We're getting up to a decent drone count just now. 1150. Decent because you still... Okay, you are making some more. I like that we're at least going to get up to our ideal drone count eventually. 10,000 feet, very good map to turtle on. Broken by lurkers most of the time. Also, remember my Zerg players, please take heed of this. Overlord drops are a thing. This guy's main base is completely open to that. And another avenue on this map is you could also mine out these minerals. A lot of this takes attention, and I know this guy's taking a lot of your attention. Yeah, we split off some units, but you're just defending with mostly Ling Bane. Your Lings have 0 attack upgrades, so against this +2 armor, they're not going to do too much. This allows him to get our Ultralisk Cavern before he produces any sort of Ultralisk. I don't mind that you're going for a counterattack, but... I would have much preferred, instead of that kind of counterattack, we do like a Baneling counterattack and we keep the majority of our forces at home to defend. Okay, we're going for Muta. Muta, generally speaking, have their heyday in the mid game. Corruptors are better in the late game, gives you the option for Broodlords, and they aren't susceptible to things like Ghosts and Broodlords. They take 2 snipes to kill. They don't just get shredded by Marines because they have baseline armor. All of those good things. Where are we looking here? Rebuilding our Ultra Cavern. We're still not mining enough gas. We are finally mining gas off that middle base. Whole time, Terran's building up to a very scary army here. And yeah, if we're being honest, there's not too much to go over past this point. We could talk about theory and things like that, but we have to get our early game eco down, supply, making sure our basics are in check. And I'm not saying the late game doesn't matter here, my friend, but I think it is a discussion for another day. The reason why I say that is because there have already been a myriad of mistakes that have been made in the early and mid game, and therefore we are limping into the late game. Late game strategy, generally, like, lurkers are a great comeback tool. They're really good for breaking planetary positions, so are big chunks of banelings once you're finally rich. But at no point in this game have we ever really been rich. So I'm going to end it there for now. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully this has been helpful for you. If you have any questions, you know my DMs are always open, Mr. Joeleo. Thank you for submitting. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.